Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. Macro thoughts. Let's start with the pound, set for its best week since March on court ruling. The pound headed for its biggest weekly gain versus the dollar since March, as it received a double boost from a court decision in the Bank of England on Thursday. Sterling climbed after a High Court ruling that the government needs Parliament's permission to begin negotiations to exit the European Union, stoked speculation that this may delay or soften the terms of Brexit. The UK currency also rose as the Bank of England said it's no longer expecting to cut interest rates this year. So we've been speaking about that for a while, and I think it needed the bank to get everyone scurrying for cover. But there are a lot of shorts trapped lower down. We're at 124.66 right now. The Chandra Observatory, Good Morning Universe, they're a great resource looking into the deep universe. I like this priceless view from atop Mount Kenya, photo by Iyaz Jin. How many elephants can you spot? Pick credit Kennedy Chamblay, Kenya Wildlife. Staying with the animal theme, I counted over 25 bears around the small Inuit whaling village. Some of them were absolutely enormous. The whole spectacle is quite surreal. This is David Yarrow. Let me leave you with the final home thought. Our planet is beautiful. Let's keep it that way. That's Greenpeace. Political reflections. Are we absolutely sure there's no way we can have just 4 more years of this guy? Do watch it. It's President Obama. It's a short video during the time of Halloween. Polls suggest that the US presidential election is now too close to call. This is Bloomberg View. After the surprising results of the Brexit referendum in June and last year's election, when UK voters may have been reluctant to reveal their true intentions, trust in polling as a guide to outcomes has been undermined. That argument suggests that Donald Trump's true support may not be showing up in the polling. And I think that's a fact. Huma Abedin is beautiful, brilliant, and chic in the eyes of everyone who has worked with her, say Anna Wintour of Vogue magazine. Secretary Clinton has benefited from her support and wisdom for 20 years. The Michigan-born Saudi-raised Abedin has achieved something of a cult following among some of Clinton's backers, especially some of her most prominent women donors. It stems from a combination of her sense of style and her grace, and in part because of her role as a gatekeeper who enjoys almost a daughter-mother proximity to the Democratic nominee. So it's really all up for grabs. I think it's statistically a dead heat, and I think a number of things could happen. Event risk favors Trump. I did not foresee the FBI presenting themselves as an event risk, but they did. Brennan said the digital age creates enormous opportunities for espionage, but it also creates vulnerabilities. When a new American diplomat arrives for duty at the US Embassy in Moscow or Beijing, CIA officials say Russian and Chinese intelligence operatives run data analytics programs that check the digital dust associated with his or her name. If the newcomer's footprint in that dust, social media posts, cell phone calls, debit card payments is too small, the diplomat is flagged as an undercover CIA officer. The days of a black passport, a fistful of dollars, and a Browning pistol are over. Assad, US waging proxy war in Syria against Russia and Iran. The US's secret collaboration with terrorists is the reason why all attempts at a ceasefire and political transition in Syria have so far failed, the Syrian leader told Serbian newspaper Politika. The interview was also published by the Syria's Sana news agency. Supporting the terrorists is a war of attrition against Syria, against Iran, against Russia. That's how they look at it. That's why. Not only this ceasefire, every attempt regarding ceasefire or political moving or political initiative, every failure of these things, the United States was to blame. According to the Syrian president, a lasting ceasefire was not what Washington sought from the deal in the first place. They always ask for ceasefire only when the terrorists are in a bad situation, not for the civilians. And they try to use those ceasefires in order to support the terrorists, bring them logistics support, armament, money, everything, in order to re-attack and to become stronger again, he said. Then he's describing the attack. They attacked a very big area. They didn't attack a building to say we made a mistake. They attacked 3 big hills, not other groups neighboring those hills, he said. In less than 1 hour, ISIS attacked those hills. It means that ISIS gathered their forces to attack those hills. How did ISIS know that the Americans would attack that Syrian position? It means they were ready, they were prepared. You have a very black and white picture, very, very bad guy against very, very good guy. It's like the narrative of George W. Bush during the war on Iraq and on Afghanistan. Rebel shelling of Western Aleppo amid talk of Phase 2 of attempt to break siege of East. This is Krishnan Gurumurthy from Channel 4. Nice photograph of Aleppo. It was, I believe, the oldest known city in the world. This war is yours. Turn the dark night of the infidels into day, destroy their homes and make rivers of their blood. This is by Rukmini Kalimachi. Baghdadi. After nearly a year-long silence, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the self-declared caliph of the Islamic State, released a blistering audio recording imploring his forces to remain in the face of the American-backed Iraqi offensive in Mosul and excoriating those who might consider fleeing. Know that the value of staying on your land with honor is 1,000 times better than the price of retreating with shame. This war is yours. Turn the dark night of the infidels into day, destroy their homes and make rivers of their blood. The terrorist leader's tone in the new recording at times suggested an air of panic, as if he was trying to shore up his fighters and enjoin them to continue battle, promising them heavenly rewards. O soldiers of the Caliphate, if you stand in the line of fire from America's jets and its allies, then stand firm. He added, know that if the sky collapses onto the earth, God will make room for the believers to breathe. Put up a photograph of the Bank of England, which wrong-footed the markets, raised its growth and inflation forecast for 2017, and kept interest rates on hold at 0.25%. It now expects the economy to expand by 1.4% next year, with inflation set to surge to 2.7%, nearly triple its current level. Growth of 1.5% is now forecast for 2018. So significantly better. Let's look at the markets. Euro dollar 110.95, dollar index 97.21, Japanese yen 103 the figure, Swiss franc 0.9752, the pound 124.75, Aussie. Let's take a look at where that might be, 0.7675, India rupee 66.725. South Korean won 11.4347. That's been softer in line with the problems affecting the president. Egyptian pound, look at this, 15.2545. Big move. You remember it was stuck at 8.88 for eternity. The rand remains strong at 13.4865. The rand, I'm bullish, but I believe that the South African president has finally been triangulated. Gold on its best weekly run since Brexit ahead of the US election. 1,300 trading. If Trump wins, we should expect 1,400. US oil nearing critical support level at its 200-day moving average. It's been in a sharp slump. Look at these. Coal prices, doubt this is Fed, Brexit or US election related, or is it? They're up more than 200% this year. Orange juice down for second day after topping a record high, north of $2.30 a pound. Emerging markets, Shanghai offers foreigners easier access to work permits by simplifying applications in a pilot program. Moving on to sub-Saharan Africa, hope defines Barack Obama's legacy in Africa. Voice of America. When Barack Obama was elected US President in 2008, the event was hailed across Africa. He is the son of a Kenyan after all, and many on the continent considered Obama one of their own. I said, I think President Obama built a framework for the US corporate sector to get engaged with Africa by consistently engaging through the business councils and so forth. It sort of de-risked Africa in a lot of US corporate minds, and I think that was an important achievement that the president made. Then I was speaking about his message of hope. I said, he's shown Africa a higher path, and I think he's done this generally. That's been his politics. He's always lifted people's heads up and said, look where you can go. A cashless economy in Zimbabwe with little cash, there's little choice. Zimbabwe is hurtling towards a plastic future for a simple reason. It is running out of cash. Specifically, the American dollars it adopted in 2009 before abandoning its troubled currency, anxious about their nation's political and economic troubles. Many Zimbabweans have been hoarding dollars or taking them out of the country. Banks have slashed daily withdrawal limits. ATMs now sit empty. We had to migrate to electronic platforms as a matter of necessity rather than as a matter of choice. Zimbabwe is unique in many, many respects, and this is just one of them. 25th of July 2016, I said, countries like Zimbabwe feel like they're right at the edge. And the edge was described thus by Hunter S. Thompson, who said, the edge, there is no honest way to explain it, because the only people who really know where it is are the ones who have gone over. Hunter S. Thompson, let me put up a photograph of him, and he famously said, I hate to advocate drugs, alcohol, violence, or insanity to anyone, but they've always worked for me. This was yesterday morning in Harare. The red carpet had been rolled out to meet President Zuma, who was there for a 2-day working visit. In Harare, President Zuma says Zimbabwe has been instrumental in fulfilling Africa's dream of sustainable economic development. Extraordinary statement. South Africa's Zuma faces a no-confidence vote in Parliament next week with his presidency mired in crisis. Mmusi Maimene, leader of the main opposition Democratic Alliance, told a news briefing in Cape Town that the no-confidence debate and vote was scheduled for November 10. This motion should not be viewed as a partisan motion. We do not see it as a DA motion. He said, I know there are ANC MPs and cabinet ministers who have had enough. They have an opportunity to actually do something about their anger next week. South African oil share below 50,000 after a long time above it. South dollar rand, last time I looked, 13.4865. This is all about the capture of President Zuma. Egypt took the unprecedented step of allowing its currency to trade freely. Among other changes announced by the central bank early Thursday was a 300 basis point increase in key lending rates. Egypt announces its decision to move with immediate effect to a liberalized exchange rate regime in order to quell any distortions in the domestic foreign currency market, the central bank said on its website. Set a tentative exchange rate of £13 per dollar. We're now above 15. And obviously they're trying to knock out the black market completely. Currency's 12-month non-deliverable forwards plunged more than 10% to a record 16.6758. Next up is President Buhari. Put up a photograph of him as well. Middle East Eye is calling it nightmare on the Nile, Egypt's devaluation. This is a problem that's going to be facing the street because prices for basic foodstuffs are going to go up through the roof. Long lines of cars began forming at gas stations in Cairo shortly before midnight on Thursday after local newspapers reported the government's plan to raise the price of gasoline and diesel by as much as 47%. They did the right thing, and the challenge will be the street where basics are set to go through the roof. Look at this 56% drop in the Egyptian pound. This is from David Inglis. Egyptian EGX 30 naturally surged. It's now up 25.76% this year. Nigeria all share down 5.58% this year. The Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index down 14.22%. The April agreement between Uganda and Tanzania to run a crude oil export pipeline through Tanzania rather than Kenya dramatically shifted the geometry of East African oils at Africa Confidential. And I wrote about this in May when I talked about the geopolitics of pipelines, and I said President Magufuli has shifted the center of gravity for East African oil and gas south in one fell swoop. Uhuru Kenyatta bade farewell to President Magufuli on November the 1st at Jomo Kenyatta Airport. Zombie banks stalk Africa with mergers, one way to limit risk. Africa's mini and undercapitalized banks laden with bad debt are inflicting more pain on already embattled economies. Regulators may have no choice but to force lenders to consolidate or close. A third of Nigeria's 21 banks may be undercapitalized. Much smaller Uganda has 25 banks, and last month suffered one collapse. Kenya has had 3 failures since August last year, with 40 lenders, boasts almost 1 bank per million people. Angola's 30 or so banks may need to boost reserves by $4 billion, while a Mozambican lender was rescued by the central bank in September. Ghana is telling banks to combine and raise funds through the stock market. The consequences of inaction will be disastrous, Robert Bessley. Uncontrolled bank failures pose significant contagion risks to other banks, state-owned enterprises, and private businesses. And I wrote about this on the 11th of April this year when I said, without shareholders now stumping up bucket loads of capital, these banks are in effect now zombie banks. Safaricom reported first half results, which I attended this morning. I interviewed Bob, he said many things. He says, we don't fear the competition. We're always scanning the horizon for new and emerging disruptive technologies like WhatsApp. Safaricom reported first half earnings per share was up 33.3%. First half revenue topped $100 billion at $102.09 billion. EBITDA surged 30.8% to $50.8 billion. Profit before tax up 30.6%. Cash and cash equivalents at the end of the period was up 126%. Would you believe it? $43 billion, that's $430 million. Customer numbers up 6%. M-Pesa customers up 12.2%. Voice revenue up 1.1% to 45.7 billion shillings. People have been talking about the death of voice, but what it is here is the demographic dividend is seen in voice because you're getting so many new people. Population grows. SMS up 8.1%. Mobile data up 46.3%. M-Pesa revenue, which is much bigger, it's a big piece, up 33.7%. It's a couple of tweets. Non-voice revenues now 53% versus 45% previous earnings release. Mobile data revenues, have a look at this chart, it really confirms the arrival of the information century here in Kenya. Kenya needs 5 new Safaricom companies every year, says Bob Collymore, he's not wrong. True Value report indicates that our business is intrinsically tied to the Kenyan economy and has a multiplier effect, so profits times 11x when you want to really look at the influence it's having. Bob said, I've been saying for years, voice is not dead. We've got 1 million people added to the population every year. We haven't moved into the bundled voice thing that many Europeans did and wish they hadn't. Seriously muscular earnings. Voice revenue declined below 50% for the first time. Mobile data up 46.3%. 10 million smartphones on the network now. M-Pesa plus 33.7 was a standout. Right back of 3 billion pushed EBITDA higher. Safaricom is an outlier. Bob Collymore has presided over a golden age for shareholders, which has seen the share price rise from 3 to 21 in his 6 years of leadership. This excludes dividends. Only one bank has made share gains this year at the Nairobi Securities Exchange, that's Standard Chartered. I've been telling you about that for a while. NSE 20 down 19.26% this year. Nakumatt Tanzania sold 51% stake at an undisclosed value. Nakumatt Tanzania, this is to a company known as Ascent Investment Limited. They've had some challenges, and I'm still mystified by why they need more money, given that the model hardly requires any money. Okay, doing up the shop might require some money, but you rent it, you don't buy it. Your supplies are coming to you on credit. You're demanding 270 days to turn that around. So I'm mystified by what's happened there. I wish you all a tremendous weekend. Thank you.